What is up, guys? Well, last week I was able to attend the full South by Southwest festival, and one of the bigger premieres of the festival was Christopher Landon's Drop. And this was a movie that I certainly had on my radar. I did not watch the whole trailer because this thing was produced by Blumhouse, and I know that it's going to give me the entire plot in 2 minutes, so I just watched enough to get an idea what the premise was. And inherently, I'm a big fan, for the most part, of what Christopher Landon has done. Really enjoyed the Happy Death Day movies, thought Freaky was a good time. So seeing him do a more traditional thriller sounded like it could be a really good time. And the basic premise of this movie is that you have this woman who is a widow, and she's going off on this date at a restaurant, and while she is there on her first date, she starts to get these really nefarious drops onto her phone that eventually tells her, you have to kill your date, otherwise we're going to kill your son. So it's very much a cat and mouse game where she's trying to solve the mystery of who exactly is doing this, why they're doing it, while also trying to figure out how to save her son and also avoid killing her date that she really likes. And starting off with the positives, I thought this was a really fun and entertaining thriller. I think that it is a classic cat and mouse setup game that's very much modernized through these little phone messages, these drops, to give it its own little distinct flavor. I think that the whole premise of having somebody watching you, knowing every single thing that you do and anything that you try to do to navigate out of this situation or try to outsmart that person just gets you deeper and deeper in trouble. It ratchets the tension up really nicely throughout the entire film and leads to a really exciting climax in the third act. A number of these types of films were some of my favorites to watch as a kid. A number of them are still some of my favorites to rewatch, like Breakdown with Kurt Russell. And I thought this was a really entertaining modern version of that I think Christopher Landon actually really stretched his legs as a director on. Now, he's somebody who has succeeded really well, in my opinion, with doing like genre blenders, and especially his sense of humor getting put into there, most notably with Happy Death Day. And this is much more of a straightforward type of movie from him. And I was wondering if there was going to still be some strengths in that he's not able to have quite as much fun with a much more serious premise like this. And I think that not only does he execute the thrills really well, but he stretches his legs like with the visuals, with the way that he has the drops and the messages visualized on screen so that he doesn't have to cut to a cell phone 75,000 times, as well as the way that he uses lighting, where she's focusing in on somebody with suspicions or with curiosity, and like the light goes out around them and kind of gives you like this POV focus of what it's like in her head while she's thinking. I think that the setting that they built out specifically for this movie, for this restaurant, is a really cool setting. It's got almost like a Kubrick kind of vibe to it, with the way that the shapes and everything kind of works together. If you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's a very unique looking restaurant that could probably only exist in a movie, but it works. It was really cool to look at. And being that one of his strengths as a director is his comedy chops and knowing when to put comedy, I think that he was really wise in the way that he used it here, where it never really undercuts the tension. You do have some genuinely funny moments. You have some very funny characters, like their server is kind of the comedic bit that's recurring throughout the movie, and the way that he reacts to certain things, and all of it lands really well. But at no point does it feel like it takes away the darker edge of the movie, or it takes away that tense feeling that they're slowly starting to ratchet up throughout the film. So really nice balance here of thrills and laughs.
Oh, wow. Did you mean to dress like a candy cane?
Also thought the cast was great. You've got Megan Fahey here as the lead. You've got Brandon Sklenner here as her date, and they have really good chemistry with each other. They're both very attractive, charming people, so you kind of invest in that movie magic of, are they going to end up together? Are they going to actually be, come out of this crazy situation with that Hollywood movie ending? It's one of those movies that kind of sets up those classic elements for you, and the cast executes that really well. And Brandon Sklenner, I gotta say, I don't really think I've seen much from this guy, but watching his character on screen and then watching kind of his swagger during the Q&A, this guy must be drowning in pussy, because he's like one of the most charming leading men that I've seen in a long time. He's going to blow up at some point. Women are going to watch this movie. He's going to be the new it guy. You mark my words. It's going to happen. I also thought the central mystery of the movie was executed pretty well. I was invested all the way throughout. It definitely sent me on some red herrings and some rabbit trails that I fell for that was really enjoyable. Eventual reveals of who is doing this, why they're doing it, how she's going to get out of it especially, was really entertaining once you're at that climax of the film waiting for the shoe to drop. And so that main thing that I go to movies like this for. Having those solid thrills and really fun payoffs, I think they did a great job with it in Drop. And the last thing that I'll say here is that while this is a movie that certainly maybe gets a little bit too big for its concept, it maybe goes a little bit too big in the third act with some of the stunts and the places that it's trying to go to ramp up the entertainment value. For me, that entertainment value that they do deliver softened that quite a bit, where, there's going to be some people that think it's ridiculous and it loses them in the third act, and that's going to be an understandable stance to take. For me, it was fun enough. They paid it off enough. There was enough of an action as well as a comedy payoff in some things that happen in the closing 15 minutes of the film that I was really easily able to forgive a lot of the over-the-top nature of what was happening. Now, moving on to my negatives, because I was able to forgive it does not mean that it is not an inherent issue with this film. And not just in the third act, the overall premise of this film is going to require you to suspend a hell of a lot of your disbelief. And you're going to have that be the biggest divisive element of this film, is people that are willing to go on this ride for the inherent silliness of what is going on because they're entertained by it, and the opposite of people who are just going to go, nope, that is way too much, that makes no sense, you've strained all credibility, I can't go on this ride with you. And I would understand either stance on that, because just the inherent premise of this movie of somebody, some terrorist, some organization, some assassin, whoever it ends up being revealed to be, using this method to kill the date, dropping random things onto his date's phone and going to her house and performing a hostage situation and setting up surveillance. And it's such an extravagant, convoluted, over-the-top way to kill just a regular guy. It only makes sense if it's in a movie. And for some people, it's not even going to make sense that it's in a movie. Like, it's the least efficient way possible to execute a hit. The other side of that, possibly even more so for me, is that the movie really pushed my believability of Brandon Sklanner's character sticking around on this date, because it's like every 3 minutes that our lead is scurrying off to the bathroom or walking to the other end of the restaurant or going to talk to somebody else. Like, she's performing an investigation. She's doing what she's being told to do. She's also doing things to try to figure out this situation, how to get out of it and what exactly is going on. And the whole fucking time, her date, who is under the presumption that this is just a regular ass first date, is putting up with all of this for 90 minutes. And so I don't give a fuck if you're sitting across from Salma Hayek. Every guy has his limit. And so after about 35 minutes tops of this woman's bullshit, I don't believe anybody would sit there that long. Ever. I mean, there's literally a point in the movie where he gets tired of it. He pays the bill. He puts his credit card down. He signs the check. He packs his shit up. He walks halfway out the restaurant, and she convinces him to come back and carry on with the date after the date has already been closed. And so even at that point, it's like, come the fuck on. Like, you have to go along with it for the premise of the movie. I get that. Otherwise, this would be a short and not a full-length film. But that was the one element for me where I had the most difficulty buying into it and suspending my disbelief, because the whole time I'm just like, bullshit. I would have been out of there by now. So is every other fucking dude in this theater who's with me. And also going along with that, I think in the third act specifically, they really strain the passage of time. And I can't really get into specificity with that without getting into spoilers, but there's obviously a ticking time element going on throughout this film that is at its most tense in the third act as everything is coming to a head. And I feel like they cheated like a motherfucker to make the third act work when it comes to that ticking time element. So again, all three of those things that I just said, I preluded that by saying I was entertained enough to forgive a lot of it and still had an overall good time. But it strains a lot. And for a number of people who watch this, that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back with Drop. I also thought there's an element to the main character's arc where, without saying too much, she's essentially being put to test to actually make a decision to, fight for her life. And we're preluded with a backstory on a time when she did not do that. And I just felt like the way that they executed that story was convoluted for no reason. They could have told us outright what happened to her and why she feels like she did not do what she needed to do. And now this situation is going to allow her a chance to make up for that without it being this fragmented story that we're only told pieces of throughout the runtime. I don't think the ultimate reveal was shocking at all. I don't think it was even like any kind of a twist or any kind of a weird reveal that changes perspective on anything. It was just for some reason told to us in piecemeal instead of right out of the gate. And so that felt unnecessarily fragmented and unnecessarily convoluted as a story device for a character. But overall, guys, I thought this was a really fun time. I thought it was a very solid thriller. If you like movies like this, there's a good chance you're going to enjoy it. It's really just going to depend on your ability to suspend your disbelief, because that is the main inherent issue with this film that is going to sway people from liking it or disliking it. So you probably know who you are, but if you enjoy Christopher Landon's work, I definitely encourage you to check it out, because especially as a director, I think he shows even more talent here than he has in the past. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, please click over here for all of my 2025 new release reviews. I'm also going to put a playlist up here of all of my South by Southwest premiere coverage. We've got Accountant 2, we got Death of a Unicorn, we've got Drop. Might add some more in there, so check all those out. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.